So that's why for this last session, we're going to focus on you, how you can be at your best. And also, you know, if you're working with consumers, this advice is going to be things that you can pass on to help them as well. So I'm going to welcome Dr. Chloe Carmichael. She's the Office of Nervous Energy, Harness the Power of Your Anxiety. And she's going to share 3 ways to keep burnout at bay. And when she's done, we actually have an HR expert coming on as well. So, and then at the end of that, we're going to do Q&A. So you can start posting your questions and we'll get to them at the end. And Dr. Carmichael, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thanks so much. It's great to be with all of you here today. And I was really glad to see the results of the poll. It does seem like most people feel like they're doing a pretty good job with their work-life balance, which is awesome. So when it comes to keeping burnout at bay, just to say again, like who I am and why I'm talking to you about this, I'm Dr. Chloe Carmichael. I'm a clinical psychologist and the author of Nervous Energy, Harness the Power of Your Anxiety, which I know in the wellness crowd here, we will understand why I'm so happy that I was able to get an endorsement from Deepak Chopra on the book. So I'm delighted to share with you here today some ideas that are from this book that will get at how we can keep burnout at bay, even though we also really want to push ourselves and grow and get out of our comfort zone and, you know, try new things and rise to new challenges, but still also keep burnout at bay. So how exactly do we do that? Let's get into it. So 3 ways to keep burnout at bay. Oh, by the way, I also want to say I will be doing a giveaway alert. So if I'm saying things here that resonate with you, you can post them on social media with hashtag Nervous Energy, and I'll be doing a giveaway of the book Nervous Energy if that's something that you want. So when I think about burnout, the source is oftentimes anxiety, which of course can feel overwhelming. We can feel frozen. We can feel we're stuck between a rock and a hard place or all these things. But actually, the healthy function of anxiety, it actually has a good, healthy function for us. And that good, healthy function is actually to stimulate preparation behaviors, right? So again, to those of us that have a healthy desire that we want to go, 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 and let that anxiety push us to understand, you know, hey, if I'm feeling anxious and I'm thinking about that meeting coming up, or I'm thinking about that new product launch, on a certain level, you know, that's what drives us to put in that extra time or go that extra mile. And that's a good thing. However, of course, you know, we're going to go beyond this here, but we want to make sure we do give ourselves time to rest and to recharge, because otherwise all that anxiety, you know, that's just pushing, 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 we just end up depleted. Now, again, I know I'm preaching to the wellness choir here, so I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on the fact that we need to rest and restore. I think that's something that we all know. But I still do think it's worth saying and maybe even offering a couple of quick tips about it that you may not have thought of before. Maybe you just need a good reminder to do them. So you see a picture of the smart home device there. I won't say the name of mine or else it will wake up in my own office. But one thing that's good about those smart home devices is that we can routinize our self-care, right? So what I mean by that is you can program your smart device so that, say, every day at noon, it will put on some relaxing jazz music. And you can actually program it to say, hey, time for lunch, time for your lunch break, time for your jazz. Or you can program it so that every morning at 10 a.m. it will play, you know, some Chopin and Vivaldi, or, you know, whatever it is that gets you going. You can also program it so that every night at 8 o'clock, it'll put on nature sounds and it will say time to wind down, right? So we want to take advantage of ways that we can get our environment to automatically start helping us to relax and recharge, since that is a key part of beating burnout. That second picture there, you see that woman, she's, you know, kind of burning the midnight oil there unintentionally, which is actually something I hear a lot of is, you know, those of us entrepreneurs, myself sometimes included, we're like a dog with a bone, and we can sometimes just get so interested and excited about our ideas, or feel just a sense of responsibility to move things forward, that we struggle to rest. And so a thought replacement technique that I find helpful for myself as well as for other driven people that sometimes just need to rest is the self-statement. The most productive thing I can do right now is rest. And to just repeat that to yourself, the most productive thing I can do right now is rest. And that in a good way, it will hijack our internal monologue. So we'll stop thinking on some level, or it will be harder to think about that product launch and everything else because we're inserting a particular thought. And we're also subtly reminding ourselves that, in fact, rest is part of productivity. It's an important part of fulfillment. And of course, I put the picture of the massage there because, again, I hope that the wellness group here knows this, but the Journal of the American Medical Association has published extensive research showing that massage does indeed actually have a profound reduction of about 30% on our cortisol levels. So if you've had a big day or even you're just anticipating a big day, I encourage you to proactively get yourself a massage on the books. Now, again, I know a lot of that stuff is somewhat basic for many of us here. So I'm going to pull out a few additional techniques that I think could be helpful for us in our goal to reduce burnout. So I mentioned 3 techniques to reduce burnout. The first one we just discussed, which was to make sure we rest and restore. The second one is a technique called the to-do list with emotions. Now, the to-do list with emotions, I know many of us have heard, of a to-do list before. But the to-do list with emotions, what we do is we look at our to-do list and then we think about the emotion that goes with that item. And then we layer in a self-care plan. And this is how we beat burnout. Okay. And it works in 2 ways. If there's something on your to-do list that actually provides positivity, like again, say that product launch, and the emotion maybe that goes with it is, pride and joy and excitement. We need to make sure that you maximize the good feelings and the positivity because from that event, because some of us who have a high sense of conscientiousness and personal responsibility, we might say, oh, I don't really take so much time to celebrate my victories. I just keep on going. It feels indulgent, to just fly my own flag or whatever. Whereas the truth is, as a clinical psychologist, I can tell you that taking time to celebrate our victories actually increases our sense of motivation as well as our sense of fulfillment. Otherwise, we just get that hamster on a wheel feeling where we just keep getting things done, but we get that burnout feeling where we're just not really connected and fulfilled and feeling that joy and that drive. We need those attaboy moments or those attagirl moments where we really take a moment and say, you know what, that felt good. And then what is the self-care plan around that? How do I make sure I really maximize noticing this important milestone? And of course, that could be anything from taking the team out for happy hour to, booking yourself that massage or, whatever it is. But the point is that we want to make sure we maximize those positive moments with our self-care plan by taking a moment to tune into our emotions. Now, there can also be, of course, not so great emotions. So that very same item, even, a product launch, the emotion could be, I'm really nervous because, maybe I'm not going to sell, 500 units of this thing on launch day like I'm hoping. Maybe the computer's going to crash or, whatever it is. And I'm really nervous about that. So maybe the self-care plan is that in advance of your launch day, you notice that this issue's coming up and you notice that the emotion is actually fear and anxiety. And so maybe for you, your self-care plan is that you plan to have dinner with your mentor the evening of the launch so that you've got support to talk it through if things didn't go so well, or maybe you plan to have a good brisk walk with your neighbor that evening so that your body, if it's having those fight and flight jitters, that you've got a place to go and you've made some plans for yourself. But either way, the idea with the to-do list with emotions is that we notice what's on our calendar. We take some time to think about our emotions because high functioning driven people are often very good at putting our emotions aside and getting the work done, which is good to a degree, unless we get so good at it that we forget how to tune back into our emotions, and then we're not as equipped to care for ourselves when we're vulnerable or celebrate and notice when things are good. And all of those things will help us to make sure that we keep burnout at bay. All right. So moving along here, another technique that I find helpful for myself, as well as for many people that, are very driven people that tend to have a very active mind, is we can be like a dog with a bone. Once we get something stuck in our heads, we just want to keep thinking about it. We can have a very tenacious mind, and that can be a great thing, right? Until it's not. So again, just to stay with the same example, suppose that you have a product launch that's happening, and maybe you've had a cognitive habit of just constantly thinking about that product launch. You eat, sleep, and breathe it. You think about it constantly. And to a certain degree, that has actually served you, because putting all of your mental energy into that maybe is actually productive, and it helps, to make sure that you're on top of things. However, maybe you then come to a point where you're like, okay, I've crossed every T and dotted every I twice, and this is getting a little obsessive. I'm just ruminating at this point. It's really truly time to just get myself off this. I'm just giving myself the jitters, right? Or, maybe the product launch is over. You've prepared your report about what you've learned about it. You've got the meeting with your mentor planned, but you still just are like obsessively thinking about it. And it's time to get your mind onto a different track, right? So, what to do that, the awareness that you need to do that is great. But for a lot of people, they'll get stuck at that point of that awareness. It's almost like they realize that they're in overdrive on the topic, but they don't know how to shift out of it. It's like saying, don't think about pink elephants. I've got to stop thinking about pink elephants. And yet, of course, you're cognitively reinforcing the topic and keeping it alive in your mind every time you tell yourself not to think about it. And as a psychologist, I can tell you that's actually quite normal, because when we're in any kind of a, emotionally charged situation, our cognitive focus becomes more narrow. And that's actually a gift from Mother Nature, because Mother Nature thinks, that topic still needs to be front of mind for you. And Mother Nature thinks that she's doing you a favor by kind of blocking out everything else, putting on the blinders of everything else. And all you can think about is that topic, which again is great, except for those glitch moments where Mother Nature kind of, needs a nudge in a different direction. So what we do is we come up with 5 topics that we know are going to be good things for our brain to pivot onto instead. And I really recommend that those topics should, come from a variety of different domains of life. So it could be anything from, home life, decorating, is your space maximized, maybe thinking about your social and family plans, getting a jump on your birthday and holiday shopping, or thinking of friends and family that you just seem like you feel like you never have time to call, right? Or, personal development, those breathing exercises or whatever else that you keep meaning to do every day, but just feel like you don't have time to do them. Or, of course, other work initiatives and things like that. But the point is, with the mental shortlist, is that you do have to literally list it in your calm state of mind as you're sitting here thinking rationally. That's when you make your list of 5 good things to pivot onto. You don't wait until you realize you're in a complete mental tizzy and then say, okay, what else could I think about? Because to me, that's kind of tantamount to waiting until you've got a huge case of the munchies and you got a fridge full of nothing, and then you're trying to figure out how to have a healthy snack. It goes much better if you have a fridge full of healthy snacks, because you've anticipated that you're going to be hungry, you're going to need something to munch on, so you've prepared some good stuff for yourself. And then when you're feeling that munchie monster, you have some beautiful things that you've arranged for yourself right there in your fridge. Similarly, I would really encourage you to actually write down your mental short list. So it not only makes it easier to access those positive things or helpful things in the moment, moment, but it also behaviorally demonstrates to you this sense of self-care, kind of like when you lay out your clothes the night before. It not only helps you to have the clothes ready, but you kind of also feel in charge and you feel secure and you feel like, oh, good, I really planned this well. I'm practicing good self-care here. I'm noticing myself and I'm preparing and anticipating and meeting my needs. So it soothes you on multiple levels, from the practical as well as the emotional and self-care standpoint. Now, I do want to say a word about practice, okay? It's important to practice. My guess is that we have a few perfectionists in the room, right? And of course, I speak and I give different versions of this talk for, a lot of different types of organizations. And, one of the things that often comes up is people will say, well, Dr. Chloe, I tried these things, but I just couldn't do it. It didn't feel natural, or I found myself just mentally beating myself up because I knew I wasn't doing, different techniques from the book or whatever else, correctly. And again, to the point of reducing burnout, as well as to the point of building new skills, we need to normalize and give ourselves good, healthy practice space, which means we want to try and practice these things, before we're in the depths of, some extreme life challenge. Also, when we find ourselves slipping or in some way, not feeling like we're quite doing some of these techniques or approaches right, instead of beating yourself up for that, I want you to congratulate yourself on the awareness that you're slipping. Because if you think about it, awareness of that is so much better than non-awareness, than of the person who just goes down a complete and total rabbit hole and never even realizes that they are, going off the rails. It's so much better. Congratulate yourself for having that presence of mind, and then take a deep breath and ask yourself, how can I support myself to get myself back on track here? Because again, we just want to normalize that. Plus, I would just say, I know many of us here lead teams, and when we can normalize our own practice process of growth, we actually model that for our teams as well. So if you notice yourself slipping or something like that, by all means, congratulate yourself for that awareness, and then think about, what you can do to get yourself back on track. It's really as simple as that. So I know we're not going to jump immediately into the Q&A time, but I just want to say there's going to be I think a 10-minute talk, which I'm very excited to hear from an HR professional. And then I'm going to jump back on for the Q&A. So in the meantime, if you want to be sharing anything on nervous energy on the media or on social media, and or be thinking of any questions about anything I've said here, I'm going to be ready, willing, and eager to go through that with you. So I'll go ahead and leave it here. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Great content there. We'll dig in a little deeper when you come back on. And I love the giveaway. Great opportunity. So I'm thrilled that you're giving our attendees that opportunity as well. So as Dr. Chloe said, she will be back. But first, we're going to hear from Melissa Jurgensmier. She's the Director of Human Resources at Orthomolecular Products. And she is a longtime human resources professional. And she's going to give us kind of more of a look on how we can make sure that we're supported in the workplace, and as managers, also make sure that we're giving the support that is needed. So Melissa, if you're here, I will turn it over to you now. Hello, hello.
I was taking notes while Dr. Chloe was talking, and it was relaxing me. So I want to thank you for that. That was a great way to start before you speak. I appreciate that. I'm going to talk a little bit about Orthomolecular Products and our wellness program, and then really segue into how to help employees prevent burnout and stress. Our vision for our wellness program has been to empower the health and well-being of our employees. And by doing that, we provide wellness education and programs that support healthy lifestyle choices and promote a culture of employee engagement. With that, the employees have this opportunity at all levels to participate in wellness programs. What's great is everyone does, it's all inclusive. So that's one point, is that if you're going to create something in a workplace, make sure that it's available to everyone. So what are those obstacles you have to overcome? Maybe all leaders participate. It's supported from every level of the company. Our president right now, Aaron Bartz, is in our walking challenge. So we have a 90-day walking challenge. It's called the Million Mile March, because we've been doing this for over 10 years. So it's one of our legacy programs, and we have over 60% of our employees participating. So we have 400 employees, we have almost 200 employees plus participating. And with that, each are separated into different teams, and there's leaders in the company on those teams, and everyone at every level is encouraging each other. And what that creates is a sense of community. So that's another really key point that we have within our wellness program is, does it create a sense of community? Does it create this common belonging and purpose and a support system that people can talk with each other? I can look out my window and I can see all the employees from different departments walking together in different groups throughout the day. So it's supported and built into our work day and environment that people are encouraged to participate in the wellness program. So that's another aspect, is that, in being a health and wellness company, orthomolecular products, it's very intuitive for us to embrace this and do this. And I understand not every company has that base. So you have to really think about what is important to us. When you think about the health and well-being of your employees and that opportunity to assist in stress reduction and anxiety, and which leads to burnout, which burnout ultimately can lead to turnover. And that's a very important objective in a company. And I found that with the resources we have these group visit toolkits that we sell to practitioners all over the country. And we're able to use those same concepts of bringing people together in community and learning. So another thing we do is these wellness presentations where we bring people together once a month, and it's time that's set aside that is built into their job. They don't punch out. Everyone can come in and congregate and talk. And we have a senior wellness coordinator who's very educated, and she does presentations on wellness. An example of one thing that we did with our employees is, and it's one of my favorite, is it's a family eating habits panel. And so we get employees from all different backgrounds, different positions to volunteer. And we talk about what are our eating habits like in our life as we grew up? And then what are they like now, maybe in light of having children, having stress? And when people start to bring that awareness, and I heard Dr. Chloe say that awareness is so important. It's not about being perfect and solving people's problems, but bringing awareness helps people to solve their own problems. And the employer definitely should support that. So with that panel, we had this great story that, stories that come out of that every year, where people realize that maybe they want to be different than how they ate in their own families, because they don't want to have a sedentary lifestyle and sit and watch TV while they eat. They want to eat healthy and then maybe go for a walk after dinner. So it brought awareness to different habits and lifestyle healthy behaviors. We have a functional medicine certified coach where we can do one-on-one coaching with our employees. These are some of the things that our employees look forward to when they come to work here. And we talk about getting people aligned with our values. And it's really about, are you interested in health and wellness? And therefore, we're going to provide that to you when you come to work here. So you think about that in your own companies. What is of value to you and you want people to align with? We have a company university, and that company university has a whole section dedicated to wellness. And we're able to use our content that we work with our healthcare practitioners and have that built into format for our employees so they can learn as well. So we want to be really true to our vision statement as a company, transform the practice of medicine. and really bring that into awareness with our employees. We have trainings that we work on with our employees about learning each other's behavior and ways of being. And it taps into that emotional intelligence component. If we understand ourselves better, we can build that EQ and that self-efficacy as we have awareness about ourselves to better interact with others. Everything kind of comes together in a picture to build an environment that supports employees and builds a community. We have an employee assistance program that is really critical to many of our employees. It offers 24/7 counseling for employees and access to financial advice or legal resources. So trying to make things accessible and easy for employees, because they do have a lot of stress and anxiety in the workplace. You know, you think about, as Dr. Chloe was just talking about, projects and things like that, but then you've got all this other home life that also exists there. And so trying to integrate support systems in our wellness culture that are real to people, like financial wellness is a big part of what we teach and educate on, and bring in financial advisors to sit one-on-one with people so they can have those conversations. A program that we have that we work with our supervisors is really important in bringing awareness to how they talk to employees. So we know that, you know, we can control an environment to a sense where we have order, and we can make sure that that physical environment is very conducive to wellness, having bright light, having space where people can gather, and having, you know, even like Dr. Chloe said, relaxing music, and people play that in their offices. But the mental part of people's life, that is something we can't organize for them. And so we can help people organize their feelings of stress and negativity before it leads to that really heavy burnout. You know, when we look at burnout, it has these distinct components of emotional exhaustion and cynicism and inefficiency, which can happen then and affect us in our workplace. And so training supervisors, we have very dedicated HR leadership on my team, that everyone is really trained in the same aspect to be able to talk to supervisors, and to, or they talk with the supervisors to support them so they can in turn support their employees. And that really looks like, number one, helping employees process emotions. So having people that are skilled and versed in talking with employees, that emotional exhaustion can increase negative feelings and increase worry and stress. And so having supervisors be accountable to having positive relationships, connectedness, and then most important, building trust in the workplace. And from a neuroscience background, you know, because we're a science company, I always like to teach that, is that when we do that, we can help promote these naturally occurring hormones like serotonin and oxytocin, and those positive relationships, rather than being at odds as supervisors with your teams, really being consistent and having positive relationships, connectedness, and building trust. The second thing is making sure supervisors are equipped to address stress and cynicism with empathy. So empathy is really important, and it's being able to sit in someone else's view and really have a conversation with them. You might not be solving it for them, but supervisors should be able to have a conversation with employees so that they know their supervisor is empathetic towards them. That helps to reduce stress and burnout. And the third one is use learning strategies to help employees build self-efficacy. So we can't control the mental state, we can control the physical environment, but the mental state, it's important that employees have good learning strategies built into the way we teach in our education, in our company university. And when we foster this thought awareness, it's also known as metacognition, you know, organizations can empower employees to improve their self-efficacy and they can get themselves through stress. And I was writing down some notes from Dr. Chloe. I can't wait to get that book. But I think that getting some skills for employees in your company and teaching that is really of value so that employees can work through stress and burnout before, and really your ultimate effect of that is turnover. Because if someone has a very stressful situation and they don't have the support in their company through wellness programs, through education, usually their option is to get out. And you could help with that and intervene with that. And I think it's really important, if I just highlight that again, is so number one, help your employees process emotions to help boost morale. And that's having positive relationships, connectedness, and trust with supervisors. Address stress and cynicism with empathy. So really leading with empathy within your organization. And then use learning strategies so employees can help build some really important skills when stress and anxiety comes across their plates. We have many people in our organization that take time out to exercise during the day, and that can be, it could be a walk, it could be going to the gym. So we do gym reimbursements, but it's really important that employees have ways to also channel some time, channel that stress and be able to, it could be talking with an employee, with another employee in a group. We have reading groups that meet. We have about 50 different books that we have in our company university, and really encourage employees to take time to read and educate themselves during the workday. And so with that, you know, I have pretty much summed up, you know, some really key points for wellness program within your organization. Some of the programs that we have, if anyone is interested, I'll leave that for the Q&A. We have some really great specific programs, and it was nice. One of them is a rest and restore challenge. So it's really important to bring awareness to sleep or what type of rest and healthy strategies you have. So that was great to hear that. We have 30 days of gratitude. We have a really neat weight loss challenge that we do combined with our company detox, because we have access to supplements and we have access to health education. And we have a water challenge, bringing awareness to drinking more water. So with that, I will conclude and leave it open to the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Melissa. So much great information there, and really helping, you know, companies to see, you know, lighting the way on some programs that really work. And Dr. Chloe, thank you for joining us again. Please do post your questions into the Q&A. We do have about 10 minutes here, so we can get your questions answered. We've had some come in already. But I just want to say, Dr. Chloe, when you were saying, you said so many excellent things, but this really resonated, and it ties into something that was said in the keynote. You talked about when you see yourself slipping up, congratulating yourself on recognizing that. And the same thing came up in our keynote talk about nutrition. You know, if you have a day where you grab the fast food and you were doing so well, just to be kind to yourself. And I think that what you just said is another layer to that, like congratulate yourself on knowing, because now it's becoming more ingrained, right?
Thanks, Maggie. Yeah, I give talks as well frequently to corporations about the topic of perfectionism, and that is one of the first steps. And I know as employers, again, it's like we do want to encourage everybody's awareness and conscientiousness, but we don't want it to become so painful to recognize mistakes that we go into denial about them or waste the energy we could spend correcting the issue and just waste the energy beating ourselves up. So it is a bit of an art form. Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, so true. And I have a specific question that this came up yesterday, and I thought it would be a good one for you to answer, Dr. Chloe. But yesterday we were asked for tips to help natural products retailers combat burnout. And so you've covered so many excellent strategies, but just thinking about these professionals who are in the store, they're working directly with consumers all day. And, you know, obviously it was especially trying for them being on the front lines during the pandemic, and now they're dealing with staffing shortages. And sometimes, you know, you're in the midst of this hectic work day and you can't necessarily like turn off the light in your office and relax and have a Zen moment. any strategies for kind of like in the middle of the chaos,
Yeah.
resetting yourself?
Totally. Okay, so it's going to take only 2 minutes. Okay, it's very thorough, but we're going to be very quick with it. It's actually a boundary activating exercise, because when you are in the store and you're dealing with, difficult people or whatever else, and you kind of just need to have that little space of your own that you can stay in and keep your own center while you're still there and present and interacting with everybody else. There's a technique in my book called the cocoon breath. And we're going to do it now where, you have to kind of close your eyes and stuff. But once you do it, you can actually do it with your eyes open and nobody will know you're doing it. So what you do is in your best practices moment, you do a little breathing exercise to clear your palate. And then you have your hands in your lap with your palms facing up. And you, on your next exhalation, if you feel safe, let your eyelids drop closed. And on your next exhalation, imagine your eyelids dropping closed again. And on your next exhalation, imagine them dropping closed again, like a curtain drawing down at the end of the day. And with every exhalation, you imagine that curtain coming down and down like a cocoon that's spinning around you. And you can feel your hands in your lap and you feel this private space that you're creating. And you imagine any words anybody says just literally bouncing off of this little cocoon of yours. Now, for the sake of time, we're going to snap right back to the room. But I will say that if you practice that and your body learns that route, then you can talk to people without closing your eyes, but just with every exhalation, activate that sense of privacy curtain coming down and defining your boundaries, which can be just a very helpful thing, as we all know in retail. I've worked retail myself, so I do get it.
I love that. And I actually have to say, like, after like 2 times of pushing down, I felt it already. So I will be using that for sure. Okay, so Melissa, we have a question for you. We were asked, if you see colleagues heading towards burnout, so you see it, that they're stressed, you feel them disconnecting, how can we best support our colleagues, our coworkers?
If you have a human resources that is equipped, maybe you have exposure to that, a lot of times that could maybe involve the conversation about medical or some sort of stress that's happening. So I always want to say in my situation is to talk with them and ask permission first. Would you like to talk to someone from the HR leader team that's equipped? Because we genuinely care, genuinely, we look at when people have situations of FMLA, it's not a burden. It's not some, lower person on the team processing this. I only have the HR leaders working with people with FMLA because usually that's the most stressful time people are going through. It's a medical need that they have, and it's extremely important. So when you have a colleague that you see going through burnout, is there someone in your organization, it could be yourself, that is equipped, to talk with them, but ask permission first. We have also an employee assistance program, which is very important. Every company should have it if they have the resource to have it. And that's an outsourced third-party option where, ours has a 24/7 counseling line. So do they want to anonymously, maybe go through that avenue, or would they like to speak with someone face-to-face? But I feel like most people, when I read every exit interview in the company, what do they always say? What they liked the most was the relationships they had at work. So most people, they want to connect with someone. They do want to talk with someone. And I encourage people to kind of maybe know what are those people that are equipped that you could refer a colleague to talk to at work. And confidentiality is really important in that. So I recommend starting with a permission conversation, like, hey, I recognize this going on with you, or maybe they've come to them, and then go from there to see where is that best served to that employee to help them.
Excellent. I have a follow-up question for that, because obviously, you're doing best practices, right? And what if an employee needs support, but they're just not getting it from their company? What advice do you have for an employee who feels like, okay, I tried and I'm not being heard, or I need more and I'm not getting it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's twofold there. It's a call for awareness for companies to be more empathetic and prepared to have conversations and support people, because when you can help to prevent burnout, you can increase retention. So I really want to emphasize that. If that support system isn't there, maybe within an organization, we're all humans. We all know that, you know, asking someone to go for a walk and listening to them while they talk, or sitting down with them at lunch, be that person that can maybe listen. And really, we're not counselors, we're not accredited, you know, practitioners in that respect, but it's just someone to listen to, you know, to talk to. So I would say within companies, if it's not coming from the corporate structure, as you kind of say, the employer, then within friend groups, is there an option there? In peers, you know, and there's always someone special. I always notice there's always someone special that is good at listening. And I think that starts, you know, in building trust and having empathy.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you raise an important point that it comes down to the employee retention, right? So community building, these wellness talks, they pay off long term. And I feel like sometimes, you know, everybody's so caught up in their busyness, but that you feel like I was at a company years ago where it was incredibly busy, and they did things like Pizza Fridays, but nobody even felt like they could eat Pizza Friday, and it didn't feel supported in any greater way. Like, what didn't feel supported by Pizza Friday? So I feel like what you're saying, it really has to be meaningful. The empathy has to be there. You really have to be thinking about what your employees need. And it's probably not a slice of pizza, but maybe if that really builds community, maybe it is. So think about the long-term payoff of investing in these programs like you're talking about.
One thing, if I just add real quick, is like, so think about a family. We have meals. We have a corporate chef, and we have healthy meals at every location, breakfast and lunch. And it takes away that stress, anxiety of what am I going to eat today? Where am I going to go? But it also gives that message to the employees: we built this time into your day. Take time, go and eat together, build a sense of community. And people do. And we have one lunch every month at every location with the CEO, and we talk about a character trait. And so we bring people together it's a more you know, steak and salmon, fancier lunch with really good but it's a sense of a community, and it's a sense of family, and it's built into our work schedule.
Excellent. And I just want to leave it with, oh, where'd it go? There was a comment for you, Dr. Chloe, that I just want to say. Oh, somebody noted that she really loved when you said ready, able, and eager. And then that's probably something that we can all model in our work and our personal lives. So with the 1 minute that we have left, Dr. Chloe, I just wanted to see if you could leave us with one more gem of wisdom to help us kind of carry forth into our days as we leave the session, in terms of staying calm and stress-free and using our nervous energy to propel us forward in a positive way.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, the one tip or request I would say is you may want to check out anxietyishealthy.com. Anxietyishealthy.com will take you to learn more about the idea of learning how to unlock the constructive benefits of anxiety, which I think is really important. The healthy function of anxiety is to stimulate preparation behavior. And so when I hear about people, which by the way, there's been a new health recommendation, like everybody's going to have to get an anxiety screening at their doctor now. So what I find is that people get anxious about being anxious, and then it snowballs. And so just remember, the healthy function is oftentimes to stimulate preparation behavior. So we want to ask that anxiety, what are you trying to stimulate me to do? How can you be my friend here?
I love that. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. Excellent talk. And, you know, as we said, check out Dr. Chloe's book for more great insights. So thank you both very much.